Meeting to order and begin with an invocation.
Father, we love you and thank you for another opportunity today in order to represent you in this great community. We pray for your wisdom. We pray that you guide everything that's done tonight, be glorified by all of it. We ask it all in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any changes to the agenda?
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second. We have a motion by Commissioner Lambert, second by Commissioner Wentz to approve the agenda. Do we have any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Next, we have public comments. This is the time where citizens are encouraged to speak publicly. We request that you come to the podium, state your name and address, speak respectfully, and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Appears we have no one. Okay. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome the Concordia High School seniors this evening that are joining our meeting. You'll have an opportunity, I think, close to the end to get your papers signed, and hopefully you all signed in when you came in. Okay, next we have the discussion agenda. This item is for naming opportunities recognition policy.
Mayor and Commissioners, as we were working on the capital campaign for the Community Activities Center, we realized we didn't have any kind of policy guidance related to naming opportunities. We knew that we would be embarking on a capital campaign at some time in the future, and so we wanted to make sure that we had that guidance in place. We've drafted a policy for you that will relate to all city facilities, not just that facility, so we think it's important to go ahead and continue the discussion related to naming opportunities. To draft this policy, we looked at current naming opportunity policies from various different towns, including Osawatomie, Winfield, Sedgwick County, Bel Air, Manhattan, and Salina. These were gathered. We have a listserv of city managers across the state, so it's pretty easy to send it out and say, hey, who has what, have them send it back. And it's really helpful to be able to see what others are doing and what's working for them. So we drafted the policy applicable for all city-owned facilities. And tonight we just want to work through that a little bit, answer any questions that you might have. Then if there's any changes that you want us to make, we can make those adjustments, and then we'll plan to bring it back to you at the next meeting for formal approval. So if we could like to kind of start and walk through each segment of this. Given the beginning of the policy statement, it's set up like our other policies. So we start out with the purpose of it, choosing that the city of Concordia will choose names for public buildings and property owned by the city. We want to establish these guidelines for consistency to make sure that we're doing everything consistently throughout and over the years. We want to ensure transparency, fairness, and alignment with the city's value and history and public interest. So those are kind of our why. Section 1 describes the scope. So again, it applies to city-owned policies, and then what it does not apply to. So if, and these are kind of interesting, if you look at section 1D there, policy does not apply to city-owned property where the city's already entered into a contract regarding naming rights. That might sound a little bit confusing. This one actually came from Sedgwick County. So if you think about Sedgwick County, they have contracts for Interest Arena, for example. If you have a contract already with a corporate sponsor, then even if somebody gave a large sum of money for a renovation or something, you may want to protect ourselves from having to consider renaming that facility if there's already a contract in place. So that's kind of the purpose of that statement. Another area would be if there's city-owned property where another entity manages operations of the property. So here I put in the examples of the Brown Grand Theater. The city owns the building, but the Brown Grand Opera House Inc. manages the facility for us. Broadway Plaza, the city owns that facility, but we have a contract with Cloud Corp to manage the plaza. The Frank Carlson Library, we own the building, but the Frank Carlson Library Board operates the facility. Any questions so far under section 1? Okay. Section 2 is definitions. They're fairly self-explanatory. I do want to call out the distinguishment between naming opportunities and recognitions. And so the naming opportunity would actually be assigning a special name to a certain facility or feature, where recognition would be something where you may have a donor wall or plaques or program materials thanking people for their contributions, but a space is not actually named after them. So recent examples, I'll point to the hospital, for example. There's a surgical suite that's named after a family that has made a significant contribution. That would be under naming opportunity. A recognition would be all of those that gave smaller sums of money, but still significant, that are listed on the electronic display board in the hallway on the donor wall. And so as more people give, those names get added, but it's not necessarily a specific space. Does that make sense, the difference between those two? Program improvements, I know that may sound kind of different, but we were thinking in terms of if there are different recreation opportunities. The only one I can think of right now is really a parent-run organization, but the Concordia Hurricane Swim Team, for example, if there was a big sponsor that came in and made a huge contribution to that program, this policy, if the city were running that, it would give them an opportunity to rename that program after that portion. As an example, so maybe it's the basketball camp that the Parks and Rec program operates. If there was a significant contribution toward that programming and what's involved in it, because it's a city-run program, that one might have an opportunity to be named after that specific donor. That would be an option. And then the definition of any facility, which is pretty self-explanatory. Are there any questions on section 2? Section 3 is kind of guiding principles. So again, this describes why we want to do, why we want to be consistent in our naming policy and what we're looking for when somebody requests to have a facility named after them. Public interest, transparency, equity, integrity, and consistency are the ones that we came up with. As you read through these before the meeting, are there any other guiding principles that you think we should consider?
I didn't come up with any, so.
Okay. I have here in the first paragraph that we want to make sure if we do name a facility, it makes sure to help the guest identify the location of the property and the services that it provides. And I think that's a good guide to work on as well. Section 4 moves into categories of naming opportunities. So again, we describe physical spaces versus program improvements. So that gets into a little bit more detail about what those would be and examples of each. Section 5 describes the criteria for the honorees. So again, we talk about geographic or usage or purpose of the facility, natural geographic feature, historical figures with ties to the community, deceased individuals that have made extraordinary civic, cultural, or financial contributions to the city, organizations that have done the same, corporate or philanthropic partners that provide substantial or in-kind support. And then we do offer an option to be named after a living person, and that would be if in their gift, if it's a requirement of the gift that they have a naming opportunity there. Now the gift would have to be something very extraordinary. So let's say that somebody wanted to gift us $5 million toward a certain facility and they were still living. In their gift, they might say, yes, I'll be willing to give this to you if you name this space after me. I think that would be appropriate to bring to the commission for your consideration. So that would be an example of how that would be used. We do have in here, I'm going to call it a not clause, but that we don't want to name things after current government officers, officials, or employees, including members of the elected body and an independent agency. And so this is kind of to help make sure we're separating conflicts of interest. That's what this speaks to. So Ashley, if you wanted to give us $5 million for a facility, we would gladly accept it, but we probably have to wait until your term was done.
That's good.
Names would not be considered if they conflict with city values or public decency. I hope that's a given here with us, that they don't represent entities involved in discriminatory, criminal, or unethical activities, that they don't promote political, religious, or commercial interests that are inconsistent with public neutrality. So these are just kind of some considerations to help guide us toward what should be a namesake and what should not. Are there any questions or discussion related to section 5?
Maybe not section 5 particularly, but all of these are financially tied.
Not all of them. So we'll say if it's a big financial, yes, there might be or a civic, some kind of a tie, some kind of an in-kind contribution, something that's very commemorative. We definitely want the guidance for financial contributions, but if somebody did something really big and we wanted to name something after them, okay, so I don't recall whether for sure if Senator Carlson gave a large sum of money or not, but he was a very prominent civic figure here from Concordia. And so it was appropriate to consider naming the library after him because he had a great civic and cultural contribution to our community.
the park, maybe. Or not good, well, maybe it is, but Gilbert Park, those are probably in-kind donations.
Yeah, so land could be tied back to something that has a financial value, but yeah, some major contribution to the community. Did that answer your question? Section 6 talks about duration and review of the naming rights. So the intention would be that if we name something after somebody that made a big contribution, we want that to be permanent. But there could be some term limited, so defined years. So I would think back to it, and I don't know if this is the case currently, but I recall some conversation having worked for the city of Salina about there were some facilities that a sponsorship for a facility was for like a 10-year time frame. And then after that 10 years, they would put out an RFP. If somebody else wanted to give a similar amount of money to help sponsor that space, then the facility could be renamed after them. So that's where that term limited naming would come in. We definitely want to review those, and there's an opportunity here for the commission to revoke that naming right if for some reason that namesake no longer took an action or did something that then no longer aligns with the same values. We want to be able to give the commission opportunity to revoke that namesake. And that's where section 7 talks about the renaming. Section 8 is just the procedure that would be followed. So someone would, if they want to have a facility named after someone, they would submit a written proposal to us for consideration. Theoretically, somebody could submit a proposal on behalf of somebody else. So we want to make sure that we give the opportunity of the namesake to say yes or no. So there's definitely a review opportunity there before it comes to the commission. And then the city commission would make the ultimate decision. We would gather public input for any naming of any major facilities, and that could be done through a public hearing or through a 30-day comment period as examples. But for those things, we could decide at that time which method we want to use. And then we have in here, we want to make sure that that facility is appropriately recognized for the namesake that you've chosen. And so signage is going to be important. Signage will be expected at that point in time. We put the caveat in here that we could recommend an exception or deviation at any time, and that's because we know whenever we create policies, we're creating them for 90% of the situations that we encounter, but there's always that anomaly that can happen at a later date. Section 9 goes into recognition guidelines. And I think 9D is pretty important here, that even though we recognize sponsors or donors, it doesn't necessarily imply that we endorse their products or services that they offer. It's just that they've given a contribution that is significant enough to warrant recognition. Section 10 talks about financial contribution and valuation. We didn't think it was appropriate to put minimum value levels in this policy because, again, this serves for all city facilities. But the vision would be that in the event that we had an opportunity to solicit contributions or to have a capital campaign of some sort, at that point in time, we would set those giving levels of what that would be. The policies that we reviewed, giving levels varied anywhere from 5,000 to 250,000 to $1 million, depending on if it was associated with naming rights or some form of recognition. But the idea was to capture recognition for all different levels at some point, shape, or form. So maybe it was somebody that sponsored a bench or a tree or a piece of artwork, but it might have been as big as a room or a whole facility. So the larger the cost of an item, the larger the gift would be expected to get the naming rights. One policy we saw said that naming rights for a facility or a room for a renovation of an existing facility would be considered if the donor gave 51% or more of the renovation cost. So there's lots of different ways that we could write those, but we didn't thought this policy was the appropriate place to set those thresholds at this point in time. We would do that on a specific facility specific time frame. And that may be a point of discussion here too. What do you guys think about that?
Seems like it would be difficult to do within this because it ranges so much from perhaps a bench to an entire facility. So to isolate those amounts in this would be difficult, but it seems like it would be imperative to do that as part of every individual project.
Yeah. Any other thoughts?
Nothing different.
We did include section 10D here, which relates to endowed gifts. Recall that we had talked at one point with the Community Activity Center about soliciting donations for an endowed gift that would then allow us earned interest or a spendable portion of that earned interest income that we could use for a perpetual funding source for maintenance and operations of the facility. And so the thought process behind this is let's go ahead and include endowed gifts in our general policy here too. Let's kind of create and start talking about a culture of giving within our community. And so we want to make sure that we put the parameters in there. So if somebody wanted to start an endowed gift that benefited the city, we would obviously work with our community foundation for Cobb County because they're already set up to operate and know how to run endowed gifts. So let's partner with an entity that already knows how to do that. And so we just put some guidance in there that other communities had used, and that in talking to Brenda that we knew kind of happened here for our foundation as well for endowed gifts. Any questions about that? The last two are just administration type things, so record keeping and documentation, and then policy review. So we put in here that we should review the policy at least once every 5 years, just in case any laws on giving had changed, to make sure that we were staying current with that. And then when we get to the point where we are ready to give you the formal policy, we'll have a proposal form created so that, again, we're consistent with everybody being able to fill out a form and bring that to you for requests. Are there any questions overall?
I mean, it's very thorough and in the steps as far as you can tell until the situation arises and we're in it. That's going to be hard to see if we're missing anything.
If you think of any suggested changes over the next week, then just let me know and we'll redline those in, and then we'll bring that to you for approval next time. Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to the action agenda, minutes of the October 1st, October 15th, and October 21st meetings.
Move to approve the minutes of October 1st, October 15th, and October 21st, 2020.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hutchison, second by Commissioner Wentz to approve the minutes of the past 3 meetings. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. And next we have appropriation ordinance number 19.
I move to approve appropriation ordinance number 19.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hutchison, second by Commissioner Hash to approve appropriation ordinance number 19. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Okay, appropriation ordinance number 20.
Move to approve appropriation ordinance number 20.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Lambert, second by Commissioner Wentz to approve appropriation ordinance number 20. Any further discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Okay, next action item is the Fort Kearney water main extension.
Good evening, commissioners. Back on October 8th, the city of Concordia held a public bid opening for a water main extension project, paralleling Fort Kearney Street. Fort Kearney Street is the street that is in the north development where the jail is out there. This water main would serve as an extension south of the existing concrete pavement for future development of that land out there, where the buildings are currently being built now. We had one bidder submit a bid. Smoky Hill LLC out of Salina submitted a bid for $106,217.50, which was lower than our engineer's estimate of $110,000 and some change. This project, just as a general reminder, it's 2 things. The city asked Campbell and Johnson to design an extension of the street along with the extension of the water line. The extension of the street will be handled between the developer and the contractor directly under the construction observation of our firm. The water line was to go to a public bid, and a contractor would be hired by the city. The construction would get done again under the observation of Campbell and Johnson. After opening the bids and getting a bid that was comparable to what we thought it should be, which was nice, the staff and I are recommending to you today to contract with Smoky Hill as the low bidder. As a reminder, Smoky Hill is the contractor you already contracted with to do the Highway 81 pavement replacement project that is going to start as early as maybe next week. And so I think it would be nice having one company doing both of those projects, potentially with the same crew while they were already here in town. And I think that's what they were thinking too when they bid this project. Any questions on any of that?
It was a nice surprise to see something coming under.
No, right?
That was good.
It's the second time this year, last year.
Well, you try to do good work, but it doesn't matter. Yes.
Well, I would move to approve the bid from Smoky Hill LLC for the construction of new water main infrastructure along Fort Kearney Street for $106,217.50.
I have a motion by Commissioner Hutchison, second by Commissioner Wentz to approve the water main extension. Any further discussion on that project? All in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign.
Thank you. I will
Motion
proceed
passed.
forward with getting the contracts to them. Smoky Hill will actually be here this week. We have a pre-construction meeting set for the highway project Friday morning here in this room. And we'll use that as an opportunity to maybe do the contracts and whatnot and with that as well too. Thank you very much, Commissioners.
Thank you for being here. Okay, next we have rural water district number 1 contract.
What I have is a water purchase agreement contract for rural water to purchase water from the city for emergency use only. They'll be charged a monthly minimum fee for access. And will notify us when or if they need water. Do you have any questions about the contract? Did you look through that?
The terms of the contract, it says shall extend for a term of 3 months commencing with the date of initial delivery of water.
Was that?
Number 16.
Yeah.
Why is, I mean, I don't understand what the 3-month thing is. And then is this contract renewed annually? Then if that's a 3-month term? Or is
Well,
this-
I think it just stays. The last one we had with rural water just stayed with us forever. And that's why we added in the water rates.
Mhm.
So whenever we redo the
Like if they're-
water rates, it just, and they actually put that in, so.
Alright, if there's a change in the future, then the contract would need to be redone.
No, I think it just says with the ordinance. It'll just be with the ordinance, and you notice
Okay, yeah.
that they get charged 50% greater than the rates that are listed, so they know that too.
The only other question I have is could the contract, it doesn't have anything about the ability to discontinue the contract. Is that a necessity in this type of contract for either party to be able to DC?
Suspension of service, number 7.
Number 7,
Yeah,
okay, I missed
I
it.
did read something like that in there.
Jeremy, I did have a question. It's kind of back to an old item that kind of nags me with the California fires, and there wasn't enough water. And so people are trying to kind of figure out who to sue because their house is burned up. Or we've seen in certain water districts close to town where the water, they didn't have adequate water, and then it caused a lot of damage to their appliances. And so there's nothing in here that's like a hold harmless in case something like that happens, that the city isn't liable for lack of water. Justin, is there anything that we could add to kind of?
Yeah,
Do
we
that.
could do, I'm looking at this effective waivers. Okay. Yeah,
Well,
we.
the way I understand it is, it's just supplemental. They have lots of wells that they use. So, I would just be supplementing what they had currently, and they would be back feeding. This is only gonna go out along the highway.
Yeah.
Up the hill, and I think it's just meant as a supplementation.
No, I get that. It's just when people are ready to sue, they'll look for anyone, and so maybe a little ounce of prevention.
And if a drop of our water has touched their water, they'll sue us too, so, we can do a waiver of life.
Well, they actually wrote this up.
Yeah,
Okay.
you can give me their contact information, or I can send it to you, and then I just put in an extra clause there.
Okay.
And then if they're okay with it, we'll just add to it.
If that's the case, then I would move to enter into the agreement as amended with Rural Water District Number 1 to provide emergency use only water.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hutchison, second by Commissioner Wentz. Have any further discussion?
I have a question. What makes an emergency? It's for emergency use.
Last year or the year before, they weren't able to provide enough water. So they asked us just to supplement, and then, like I said, it just backfed and got as much as they could serve. I know that there was a few people that were still out of water, but we didn't have anything to do with it.
Pumps went out.
They had
They had a leak.
several leaks too.
Oh,
And I think
okay.
there's some of
Remember that too.
some of the residences were out for 7 days.
I
Yeah.
just wondered if it could be the situation where we would also have a water emergency because we've been known to limit water use in town. And if that would happen
Yeah,
at
I
the same
just
time.
have to tell them no at that time.
Yeah, the contract doesn't compel us to.
It does
if
not
it becomes
compel
an emergency
us.
That we
Okay.
have to sell, especially if we're in an emergency, we don't have to, we're not compelled to sell our
Okay.
water. So.
And they're gonna be using a minimum every month or so just to flush out that line.
Sure.
And, if they need the water, they're supposed to notify us and let us know that they're gonna use more than their normal. So the minimum is 1,500 gallons.
All in favor?
I,
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Thank you.
The high voltage electrical replacement at the sports complex.
Mayor and Commissioners, I think Amy had briefed you on when this all took place. At the ball fields on the east side where the fourplex is. We've come into a situation where the lines coming into the fields for the lights themselves, and all the equipment entitled with that, it's all very outdated. And it's become more of a safety issue with their outdatedness and the way it is now. Prairie Lane and Hoods have come up with this plan of replacement for those lines, and also limit or backing down the number of lines and the total line footage of those high power voltage lines. I've included in your packet the map of where the new proposed transformers would go. Are there any questions on the map that anybody saw? Like I said, it does go from 4 down to 2 and moves them out of the high traffic area, which is Prairie Lane's main concern, by moving them toward the outfields. And it'll just be lower voltage from there on, running to the field themselves. This was brought to light with the college's building that they will be putting up. It was never their intent to cause any burden to the city. But this is something that has come up with reduction of that. And they realized that they did on October 27th, approve a $25,000 amount towards this project of replacement to help us along. Amber is here. Thanks, Sue. during auditing for that. We are very appreciative and we've always had a good relationship with him on a lot of ongoing projects out there. Any other questions about the plan itself? Not, I asked to approve both agreements with Craigline Electric. One is for each transformer for the amount of $33,973. And then the hoods, heating and air quote of the secondary and all the switch gears after those transformers of $59,292. We paid out of a combination of those three things.
Chris, does this address all the, say, utility work, that we need to do to bring up the infrastructure up to speed, or are there other costs that we're gonna find with other aspects of HVAC or sewer or other sorts of things that we're gonna need to address with this project?
With the clubhouse project or that side of the complex?
Honestly, I guess with that side of the complex, that may be specifically expedited by the clubhouse, but that would need to be done at some point in time. I guess my question is, if Hoods is out there boring for new electrical line, does it make sense then to do any other work that we need to do to put ourselves in a strong position moving forward for the complex as a whole?
Electrical, no. The secondary line going through the building now is already outside this footprint and won't be touched. It would still stay in place. Literally not any foreseen barring any rodent or anything chewing through it or something like that, but nothing for that as far as I know. The only other thing out there would be the plumbing. We worked with Jeremy on those lines. Gary's very familiar with it. Work with a couple of contractors for their building, and the plan, for everybody's knowledge, is workable. Obviously upgrading that comes with a significant cost itself. Is it needed? We don't think so. Is there a potential of 40-year-old infrastructure going down? Yes, there is potential. We don't foresee that happening, but do you ever?
I think that's probably my question. Every season when the trees start putting their roots down, I wonder when I'm gonna start hearing noises in my basement. So now we're just running the clock. I'm gonna have to replace our son.
The way that line is now, it is very flat, and that's what has caused some of the problem. Just because it doesn't have enough flow, especially in down months, winter. The only thing, I mean, this building would help that because it increases more flow. Coming up with a better plan of winter, continuing to flush it, should only help that situation. But as far as I know, we'll work with Gary. I mean, the material itself, we haven't had any problems. So
I don't want to spend $100 now to do it, but I really don't want to spend $200 next month to do it. Right, so really just whether there's an economy or a benefit to go ahead and moving forward with it to put it in the right place or take care of it when and if it becomes compromised down the road. And I really don't know what kind of dollars we're looking at between what that would cost if we have to redo it, or if it's really fairly equal money. If it's going to be equal money, then let's just wait to do it until we have to. But if there's a significant savings associated with it, would it make sense to do it now while we're definitely
there, and I can't remember the exact cost now, but his initial quote did have the sewer, their version of the sewer replacement, and I want to say it was another close to 70,000 just for the sewer itself. And their design with it. And that would have been boring underneath the K18 field to our manhole now that connects to the main sewer out there. Yeah, the cost of that now is substantial, but
sure, but there wouldn't necessarily be a savings to do it now. They're not, would that be the similar boring line?
It'd be this, I think the same probably boring equipment. It would be a different area.
Okay,
We're
we're not digging the same trench where we can
No.
lay one pipe, or we might as well lay two.
No.
Okay,
And these lines, talking with Garrett, they're, they'd be likely 6 to 8 feet deep. So you'd never touch them again, they'd be in conduit. Sometimes happen on a line, you pull it out, replace the line, but.
Yeah. Alright.
Set it up for years if not. Ever, for the electrical part of it.
Mhm.
You probably, the mobilization of the boring would pretty much all you'd probably save from doing it now,
I mean, I don't know,
if that is,
I don't know if that's significant enough to justify it.
you know.
Okay.
Also with these agreements with Prairie Land, those transformers would then be owned by Prairie Land, so they would be on their maintenance schedule and if anything does happen to them, they'd be responsible for replacing, not us.
Does sound like we're fortunate to find out the way that we did and not a different way, so.
Yeah, I mean, this was not the direction we were wanting to go, planning to go, or anything like that. Where it came down to it are two options of splicing and, uncovering and conduiting, stuff like that, was shot out the window when they could get more background of how old they are and the shape of, those high power lines. It creates more danger than benefit by doing it that way.
I've moved to approve the two agreements with Prairie Land Electric for the total amount of $33,973, and also to approve the quoted price from Hood's Heating and Air, amount of $59,292 to be paid out of a combination of fence sign donations, special Parks and Recreation, and reserve accounts.
Second,
We have a motion by Commissioner Lambert, second by Commissioner Hatch to approve this high voltage electrical replacement at the sports complex. Have any further discussion?
Thank you to the college for that contribution. It's, we really appreciate that partnership.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you. Ms. Furby, I'm here. Remember?
Thank you.
Thank you all very much. I'm not gonna cut you off for getting it at Walmart. So check that. You told me it was a good thing I had my permit already. Hey, well, have a good.
It did, next we have the bid for the demolition at 128 West 10th Street.
Last very first part of this year, mid-January, I was called to this address, due to its perceived habitability, and as a result, we ended up condemning that in February by resolution 2025-2185, and then later on, owner came in and a new owner came in, Earl Hill, and wanted 30 days to fix it up and make it habitable, and turned out there were some legal issues there with the handler, Adult Protective Services, and an adult handler, that original owner. So that effort was abandoned, and then it eventually ended up back in the original owner's hands. And nothing has happened for a very long time, so I decided to put it out to bid, and we received one bid from Dalton Dirt Works in conjunction with Berries to clean up the property, and I went around with Shane, our arborist, and we took care of the junk tree, marked the junk tree, so that's the estimate for taking care of all that, $10,310, and recommend we accept that bid and get the house and cleaned up.
Move to accept the bid at $10,310 from Dalton Dirt Works for the demolition of the structures and removal of light at 128 West 10th Street.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Lambert, second by Commissioner Hutchison, for the demolition of 128 West 10th. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign.
Thank you.
Motion passes. Okay, police vehicle purchase.
So back in August, our current detective vehicle was the 2014 Tahoe. It started to develop some mechanical issues, and of its age, we decided to put it on Purple Wave before we purchased a new one, and we got roughly $9,700 out of it off of Purple Wave. I put the vehicle out to bid. This is mainly going to be a detective vehicle. It will be used to have all our crime scene lights, tape, lift kits for fingerprints, everything. It will be loaded heavy for investigations mainly, and then will be used if it needs to respond to any type of calls, but mainly be drove by the detective to respond to any investigation type calls. Also, it needs to have the rear seat in it as well, because the detective works a lot of child crimes and needs to be able to transport. We also, those detective vehicles, we want to keep it unmarked and low profile for investigation work. So the two bids that I received, actually received three bids from, two from Farm Country Ford and one from Superior Emergency Resource Vehicles, Serve, who we've been using the last 3 years for our vehicles, and we've had great luck for. They came in the lowest at $51,588.13. That's turnkey with our radios in it and ready to go to work, with a delivery date of 30 days. Farm Country Ford, they gave us two different quotes, one for a turbo, 3-liter turbo V6 Explorer, which was $56,000, as you can see, $99.13. And then they just gave us a basic 3.3 liter V6 Explorer for $54,298. The big difference is the vehicles from Ford, we're looking at 6 months plus for them to delivery date. So my recommendations, since we've had great luck with Serve and it's a turnkey thing, is the 2006 Dodge Durango from Serve for $51,588.13 to be paid out of the equipment reserve fund.
I appreciate the effort from Farm Country Ford,
Absolutely.
but agree with the expedited timeline. And Chief, I'm also glad to hear that the vehicle will be unmarked, not just for maintaining a low profile, but I think especially in those cases in which children are involved, it's a real different experience for them to get into a vehicle that's not a police car. And so I appreciate that perspective for them as well. I move to approve the purchase of the outfitted 2026 Dodge Durango Pursuit from Superior Emergency Response Vehicles for $51,588.13.
The motion by Commissioner Lambert, second by Commissioner Wentz to approve the purchase of vehicle one. Do we have any further discussion in this regard? All in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
It's something I should have added. I did check with the Farm Country Ford and Serve, since this was wrote back on the 13th, if these prices were still good, and they're honoring their prices. So thank you.
We have the ambulance bids.
Mayor, Commissioners, good evening. So I wanted to do another ambulance bid so quick just because the timeline that it takes to get something built and delivered. I was also hoping by doing that, we'd be able to get some competitive bids, and we did. We had 4 bids this time. The first was for 317. Second was for 347, the third for 352, and then the fourth one for 366. I did choose to go with the third highest bid. Biggest reason is I'm trying to streamline, make the truck exactly the same as it is the other one that we've already purchased. Just so that when you crawl in the back of the truck, you can reach and know where something's gonna be at. You don't have to think about where something is and check cabinets. The second thing is with the two cheaper bids, those trucks are built a little different in the way they adhere the exterior skins to the module or the box. And that does have a tendency to fail. I've rode in a truck with those, that particular method of adhering the skin to the exterior of the truck. And it creates an oil can sound that bumps back and forth. Is it the end of the world? Can we not do our job? No. They're still a quality truck that will last. No different than the one I would like to buy. So don't feel like I'm saying that the trucks aren't any good and they won't last. They will. This is just a little better quality. It's still within what I budgeted for. Any other questions?
I do see value in the ability to have identical trucks and knowing where things are when you're in emergency situations. Do your paramedics ride in all the different trucks, or do they usually just ride in one?
At all different ones. Our first out truck is Medic 4, our transfer truck is Medic 5, and then Medic 2 is our backup transfers, and then second out truck. So it's literally use all three trucks on a rotation of some kind.
Yeah, I move to approve the bid for Osage Emergency Service Supply for a new Type 1 ambulance for $352,070.
Second,
We have a motion by Commissioner Hutchison, second by Commissioner Hash to approve the ambulance bid from Osage Emergency Service Supply. Have any further discussion? I don't like spending the more money on a better one, but I do appreciate that it's within your budget. All in favor?
aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you. And next we have the Airport Advisory Board appointment.
On October 8th, the Airport Advisory Board, during its quarterly meeting, unanimously voted to recommend to the City Commission to appoint Shane Donovan as an ex officio member. Mr. Donovan is a resident of Ottawa County, is a commercial aerial applicator and owner operator of Ag by Air, based out of Boston Municipal Airport. He recently submitted a letter of interest expressing his desire to serve on the Concordia Airport Advisory Board. Under the current bylaws, regular board membership is limited to residents of Cloud County. However, the bylaw also permits the City Commission to appoint ex officio members upon the recommendation of the Airport Advisory Board. Given Mr. Donovan's aviation expertise and active role at Boston Municipal Airport, the board believes his participation as an ex officio member would be valuable to its ongoing efforts in this. Questions on?
Have we ever, or for, I guess, anybody here, have we ever had members that aren't Cloud County citizens?
In my opinion.
It's not like expressly, I mean, I don't know. Ex officio members, does that just mean they don't have voting rights? So what would it make it any different for him just to attend that open meeting?
It's not any different. So he owns a business there at the airport now, so it's, he's there all the time. So it kind of feels like a part of the family, I guess. This would kind of make it feel like part of the family, but it wouldn't be any different than just attending a public meeting. He might be viewed as, when we have members of the public that attend our meetings, they sit in an audience section versus a staff section. And so instead of having a seat at the table, he would be more of an audience member. And so would have limited capacity to participate in discussions.
I don't necessarily think that we're setting precedent if we were to approve this, because any future member that would be recommended would have to still go through the process of being approved by the City Commission. Shane is pretty involved out there and can appreciate having a vested interest in the airport. Practically speaking, I don't know that it matters. But then if it doesn't matter. Simply fits in. I've moved to appoint Shane Donovan to the Airport Advisory Board as an ex officio member.
Second,
We have a motion by Commissioner Lambert, second by Commissioner Hash to approve Jane Donovan to the Airport Advisory Board as an ex officio member. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
aye.
Motion passes. Planning Commission appointments.
Yeah, November 1, Susie Tuggle and Steve Connors membership terms on the planning commission expired, and they both expressed interest to serve again. They both serve multiple terms. The city constantly advertise on their website for positions for all boards, and I think we get a few expressions here and there for different things, but nobody for these two, so recommend you reappoint them.
Bruno, how's their attendance?
Excuse me?
How is their attendance to the meetings?
Yeah, are they attending all the meetings?
Oh, yeah, yeah, even Susie, I was gonna say Susie is very active, even if she's not here, she's on Zoom attending. She really enjoys being on there.
Maybe not the word I would choose.
Move to reappoint Steve Connor and Susie Tuggle for another 3-year term on the planning commission.
Second,
I have a motion by Commissioner Hutchison, second by Commissioner Wentz. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. And then we have the Board of Zoning Appeals appointment.
Yeah, Jeff Tolman's term expired also, he's filed an expression interest to serve another term. He also serves on the planning commission. But he's serving on the Board of Zoning Appeals. The board doesn't usually, zoning appeals doesn't usually meet very often unless somebody's looking for a specific variance or exception. And then, but there's been times we met 4 or 5 times a year, but oftentimes we meet over 2 times a year. There must be a lot going on for people wanting special exceptions or things, so. And he's been a good participant also.
I move to reappoint Jeff Tillman for another 3-year term on the Board of Zoning Appeals.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hash, second by Commissioner Lambert to approve Jeff Tillman for another 3-year term on the Board of Zoning Appeals. Have any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign.
Thank you.
Motion passes there, and then we next have the report, starting with the manager's report.
Mayor and Commissioners, I think I've mentioned to you before that Scott Concordia, our municipal court judge, is retired, and so we sought out applications for a new municipal court judge. We did receive one by the deadline, and so we'll have our committee put together and evaluate that. And we expect to bring that back to you here in the near future. Scott intends to finish out this calendar year through December, so the new judge would start in January. So we'll bring that back to you at a future date. Do want to acknowledge the sales tax vote for the Community Activity Center did fail yesterday. Preliminary results show failure of 386 votes in favor compared to 611 votes opposed. And so we know that we're not prepared to visit tonight. We did kind of a debrief of staff today. We'll continue that process and then probably bring that back to you for discussion at a future meeting, just to ask for guidance of, do we want to pick this back up again? Do we want to set it aside and continue on maintenance on our other projects? How do we want to proceed? But we know we want to give everybody time to think about it and kind of decide how to go forward. So plan on that discussion at a future date. And the last couple of weeks, let's see, October 23rd, I did have a chance to go to Manhattan and visit with King State architecture students about our housing project and also about local government perspective in housing development. Those are architecture seminar students who are helping to prepare that statewide better housing toolkit that all cities could use as a development tool to help spur and help to address the housing crunch that a lot of cities are experiencing. It's kind of neat to be a part of that process and to hear their questions. really well received. We planned on an hour discussion and it turned into 2 hours very quickly, and they still weren't done with questions at the end. So that was really kind of cool to visit with them. This week we received the first draft of the plans for the KDOT Transportation Alternative Sidewalk Project between Concordia Middle School and Elementary School. So we've been providing some feedback to Benish on that. The next field check set, I think Shane, they said in January, we would receive the next field check set. Is that correct? So it's kind of a slow design process, but we'll continue to work toward that and continue to work with the school district too, to be a part of that design process. And again, we're still looking toward late spring or early summer 2027 for construction to actually take place. If that timeframe can get accelerated, we'd like to do that, but we can only go as fast as we can go, so and not disrupt progress. That's all that I had to share with you. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Next, thank you for your report, and we'll next move on to the staff reports.
You can go, you can go.
Age before beauty.
That gets me every time. Well, as some of you may remember, my retirement is looming. And we've hired a replacement and been trained for a couple of weeks now. And so with that, he's here to talk all about himself and introduce Tim Jessup. So if you got any questions, now's the time.
Really? I don't speak very often to a group of people, so prepared some stuff for myself. Good evening, Commissioners, and thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Tim Jessup, and I will be taking over Bruno's position as building inspector, City of Concordia. I've had the privilege of calling Concordia home since 2006. And over those years, I've developed a deep appreciation for the character, hard work, and resilience that define our community. Excuse me. In my role and guidance of Bruno, I will have the opportunity to see firsthand how our city continues to grow, improve, and adapt. Each new project, big or small, represents not just construction, but progress and pride in where we live. My goal is to continue building Concordia responsibly, ensuring the growth in line with safety, quality, and long-term vision where we all share in our community. Concordia is a city with strong roots and promising future, and I believe that working together, city staff, residents, and leadership, we can continue to make Concordia a place make Concordia a place where people want to live, work, and invest their years to come. Thank you again for your time and for your ongoing commitment to the city. We are all proud to call home.
Welcome.
I didn't make him prepare that speech.
Wow.
No, it's way too short.
Yeah.
October 14th, the airport got a new credit card machine. So to update you on that, it went well. We are now in FM Live, so the cards get read faster and things working properly as it should, as before. October 30th, we had a traffic light update at College Drive and Lincoln Street. And that was done in one day, so it wasn't super drastic. And next week we plan to install snowflakes. And we also started the removal of the KDOT fence this week. So that'll be kind of a slow process. We'll be working in between on that, with the snowflakes and everything, but we plan on hopefully getting it done before the end of the year. So weather permits.
Couple things first, last month at our open house, we had about 70 to 90 visitors, somewhere in there. We filled the tables basically twice. We didn't actually keep a good head count. Try to do that next year, I guess. We did have those 50 blankets and we gave away about 47 of them. I think we had 2, 3, maybe 4 left. A couple of my guys asked if they could have them, so I went ahead and let them take them home, put in their kitchens. So we did give away all 50 blankets. The shotgun, went to Alan Charbonneau. He was the lucky winner of that. We did end up making some money over all our expenses. Not a whole lot, but we still was able to use it, on our compressor install. So it was a very enjoyable day. Guys all had fun with it again. So we look forward to doing that again next year. Our ambulance billing, so, with the government shutdown, they are still making, the Medicare payments. For some reason, the 2% that we get on the extender that was supposed to expire, they are still sending payments out with that. I had talked with Thea and told her they'll continue to do our billing like we were until I found out this information. Talked with Amy a little bit about it, and I think we're gonna go ahead and hold our EMS bill or our Medicare billing till the first part of December, just so that we don't have as much money to pay back, because if they don't renew that 2%, then we will be required to make that payment back, and they usually don't like waiting for their money, so. So yeah, for now, you might see a slight drop in our ambulance billing that's coming in.
On Amber's report, it shows that billing is way up this year. So what's just more runs and.
Yeah, we'll probably end up this year at 100 more than last year.
Okay.
Transfers, last time I checked, we were probably gonna end up the year at about 200. Year to date, last time I checked, we were at 165-ish. And we do make a lot more on transfers than we do on 911s because of the mileage.
Thank you.
I was going to go after bids from Ford and Chevy to replace a 25-year-old 1-ton dump truck next few weeks, so I'll have that. I'm happy to say it won't cost $360,000.
I do appreciate you getting 25 years out of it.
Yeah.
And that is good.
And I'll get more out of it on wastewater plant, because that's where it's going, to haul our cake. Your cake.
I just wanted to update everybody, our Scott DeMars graduated from the police academy last week. He is actually, when you send him right to work in shifts, he's doing great for us. November 14th, we have 2 more graduating the academy, so we'll get them online and moving forward. And then we have 1 more that will graduate in February, so we should be in good shape come February. And we'll be in better shape in December, but we didn't have very many incidents over Halloween, so that was nice. Everybody behaved themselves. And then just the last thing I wanted to update is we're doing at the elementary school, we're gonna do K-4 this year of identikits, child identikits that we are purchasing and giving to each child to take home to take a hair follicle and all that. And the actual parents will actually save that in a safe. If they come missing, then that will be something that we can use for and get investigation tool to hopefully find them. But that's kind of our community project this year is we picked to do some child identikits with K-4 at the elementary school.
Thank you.
I just wanted to share real quick, a couple weeks ago, we had the s'mores and movie night, and we went through roughly 230, 240 s'mores. So it was the largest one we've had so far, weather was great, so we always really enjoyed doing that event. A lot of smiling faces and kids really loved it, so it was a good night and our biggest one. Hopefully next year's even more.
I just wanted to say that I put the Andrew replace it back.
I have nothing.
Talking about some stuff.
I mean, I felt the need to say that.
Good job.
Good Mayor, Commissioner. Comments and reports?
I just would like to extend appreciation to all of those who put themselves out there to do the community project. And it takes a lot to really take kind of some of that public commentary, especially when you're doing something that's not for yourself, when you're doing it to make our community better. So I'm very appreciative for people who do that and to that group.
I'd like to thank the city staff for helping out for the Hunting in the Hood event. We always really appreciate having the road taken care of. I think passed out about 300 bags of popcorn this year. So just great, Tim, and your comments about being in this community that we're glad to be a part of. It's great to be able to have those kind of events and to have the partnership neighborhoods do with city staff. So really great night.
I echo that, just with the, not the Hood Park, but the entire community, just, I guess, inclusiveness and all the trick-or-treaters and the safety, hearing that there was not a lot of police incidents that night. It's wonderful to hear that.
I don't have anything. Well, I had a couple of things. The sidewalk in front of Cloud Core, where's I think it's all right. It's like it's gonna collapse like it did in front of the Legion, which probably ended up being your project.
No, that's fine. It was his. It's storm drain, correct? It's right next to storm drain. I was here pretty quick. I'm gonna jump in down there and see if the walls are good. If it's not, if they're good, I'm planning on redoing the curb back up to the sidewalk. But I have to go down there and check it out. I haven't got that far yet.
And I had somebody comment about the driveway out of Walmart as you come out across from Dollar General. And it says you have to make a left turn. Well, if you make a left turn, you can't go straight into Dollar General legally. And they wondered if there was a way you could mark that or change the sign so you could go either straight or
Law. At Dollar General.
Dollar
Or
Tree.
Dollar Tree.
Dollar Tree. Yeah.
I'll look into that.
Whichever.
I'd like it to make sense, so I guess I've never noticed it, but I can look for sure.
But they wanted to go across the street and that it angles. I mean, it's pointed left, so.
It makes my heart happy that people are that.
Person probably doesn't jaywalk either, do they?
And I appreciated the trick or treaters. I think everyone that came to my door, 80-some, thanked me. It was nice to have kids have respect. I appreciate it. They were funny. So,
You said that was coming out of Walmart down to that stop sign and then.
yeah,
Yeah, so you can't just drive straight across out of Walmart,
Right.
drive straight into the dollar store.
Because the sign prohibits that.
Yeah, like this way is right, this way is left, but the sign was, I'm sure, put in place before.
Right.
It was
The
built,
Dollar Tree was even.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
so we probably just need to put up a new sign that says straight or left instead of just.
or paint the arrow
Take it down.
straight or left.
all right, let's remove it.
Anarchy.
You can figure it out.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we do have an executive session this evening, but we'll sign your papers, seniors, so you guys can get out of here if you want to come up, and then I'll move on. You guys were the ones that lasted. I saw some dwindle. The crowd dwindled. Come on up.
There you go. They're trying to find where you.
We know where it's at.
It's not on the table.
You can go to different people.
You?
You don't know.
Yeah.
Who are the members?
Nobody else.
5 or 6.
Yeah, so. It's there.
Yeah. No.
Well, you were, it's.
It was 5 to 6.
I didn't see that.
Well,
That-
they-
that-
they-
mine. It's not right, twice on scale.
Yeah, I have.
So where is? All right.
This time I would move that the city commission recess into executive session to discuss confidential business matter or trade secrets of business such as KSA 754319B4 with any line in attendance and reconvene in the city commission chamber at 6:51 PM.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Lambert, second by Commissioner Hutchison, to adjourn to move into executive session. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passed. No action was taken.
Casey, what do I need to do to modify that motion?
Go for Justin.
To add Justin, and also it was for non-elected personnel, which is a KSA 754319B3.
Let's just make a motion to modify it for that reason. Basically, we went in for the wrong reason.
Yeah, we didn't have your motion prepared labeled correctly for going into, so we need to modify your motion.
So I'd make a motion to modify the motion made for executive session, adding Justin Farrell in attendance and modifying the KSA modifier to address non-elected personnel.
We have a second.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Lambert, second by Commissioner Hatch. Do we have any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion
To
to
adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Lambert, second by Commissioner Hutchison, to adjourn the meeting. All in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Have a good night.